Prime Minister. Now, this was an utterly senseless thing to do, especially as this was a global platform where India's AI capabilities were being showcased. Now, instead, it turned into an entire jamboree, a stage for domestic political tamasha. Politics, yes, has a certain time, has a certain place, and a certain context. It cannot ever come at the cost of the country's image. The BJP hit back against this, saying that this is Congress's model of anarchy and anti-India hate led by Rahul Gandhi. The question is, why go to this extent? Yes, you can have whatever political rivalry and problems you have with the Modi government. You can criticize the government's lack of organization when it comes to the initial day of how the AI summit was handled, the crowds, etc. But this, simply using this for a clown show, does the Congress owe the entire country an apology?
आज इंडियन यूथ कांग्रेस ने नौजवानों के रोष, उनके गुस्से को एक शांतिपूर्ण प्रोटेस्ट के माध्यम से दर्ज कराया एआई समिट के इवेंट पर। तब से बड़ा हाहाकार मचा हुआ है। एक कॉम्प्रोमाइज प्राइम मिनिस्टर का जो इंसेंटिवाइज्ड मीडिया है वो शुरू हो गया साहब, बहुत गलत जगह प्रोटेस्ट कर दिया, देश की बदनामी हो गई, प्रोटेस्ट वहां नहीं करना चाहिए। प्रोटेस्ट कहां करना चाहिए जनाब? किसी की बेसमेंट में जाकर प्रोटेस्ट करें। प्रोटेस्ट वहीं होता है जहां लोगों को दिखता है, प्रोटेस्ट वहीं होता है जहां मीडिया के कैमरा होते हैं। प्रोटेस्ट और कहां होगा? संसद में हम बोले तो लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन राहुल गांधी देश के लिए सबसे बड़ा खतरा है। 25 सांसदों को आप बाहर कर देते हैं, हम सड़क पर आए तो हम राष्ट्र विरोधी हैं, हम कहां बोले?
So this shirtless stir, and frankly it was a senseless stir, this is only the latest in a series of attacks by the Congress against India's story. Now, earlier, following the controversy over the robo-dog, the Congress called it an attempt to push Chinese products as indigenous innovations by the government. The party also targeted the government for the alleged chaos and the mismanagement that happened on the first day of the AI summit. It even accused the government of strangling India's AI potential and basically taking away all of India's data, the data of Indians, and then giving it to the United States. Let's listen into some political reactions. Naturally, you know, the BJP, a lot of the leaders and ministers of the BJP have attacked the Congress and attacked this absolutely brainless thing or harebrained thing that some of these youth Congress workers have indulged in. What is worse is, instead of apologizing, they've actually doubled down and said, where else do we go and protest? Well, certainly there are better places to take off your shirt, not at the summit of a global AI impact venue.
कांग्रेस के कार्यकर्ताओं ने एआई समिट में कपड़े नहीं उतारे, कांग्रेस को नंगा किया है। कांग्रेस का असली चेहरा देश के सामने आ गया है। तो वो चेहरा है एआई, मतलब अगेंस्ट इंडिया।
अगर कांग्रेस अपने केवल उसी माइंडसेट में रहेगी जब कि उन्हें हर चीज में विघ्न डालना है, तो भगवान बचाए उन्हें।
ये कांग्रेस का अहंकार और साथ साथ उनकी निराशा का प्रतीक है। उनसे बर्दाश्त नहीं हो रहा है कि देश की जनता ने तीसरी बार माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को देश की कमान संभालने के लिए दी और उनके नेतृत्व में देश कैसे तेजी से प्रगति भी कर रहा है, विकास भी कर रहा है और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय पटल पर भारत का वर्चस्व बढ़ते जा रहा है। एक तरीके से देखो तो कांग्रेस भारत के विकास को चोक करने में लगी हुई है।
All right, I want to go across for a straight face-off on this. Charu Pragya, spokesperson of the BJP, is joining us. Mahima Singh is spokesperson of the Congress. Mahima Singh, what is the logic or the rationale or the sense of doing what the Youth Congress workers did today and then expressing absolutely zero remorse about it? I mean, what were they even trying to highlight?
Jai Hind. Zaka, it was a protest and we are a democratic country. And when protests are not registered, when questions are not registered on the floor of the parliament, when the questions are not answered and continuously evaded by the government of the day, then of course, eventually these protests will reach places where the government there has been an insult to the, to our beloved country. Well, India is insulted, I must tell you when. India is insulted when our Prime Minister and his cabinet is featured in Epstein files. We are insulted when a forbidden, a banned documentary is screened in Australian Parliament, that too with a discussion, panel discussion, with whose daughter, Sanjeev Bhatt's daughter, a wrongfully incarcerated IPS officer, and the documentary was screened when PM was visiting Australia. The country is also insulted, Zaka. I must tell you that when majority of our MPs, opposition MPs, are shunned out of the parliament. So this government that has been bringing shame in country is also insulted when the Prime Minister Modi keeps on running away from stages where Trump is coming.
But
And then the
Maimaji,
US
tell me, the country has not been insulted by what the Youth Congress workers did today. That's kosher. Country has been made proud by what they did today.
Zaka, why was the occasion for such a protest compared by the government of the day? If the answers would have been given about the India-US deal by this government on the floor of the parliament, probably it would not
So what questions about the India-US deal were these young men trying to ask?
I want to ask you a simple question in return, Zakka. Did you do a show on the video that came out yesterday of a Karni Sena, supposedly Om Birla supporter, where he's threatening कि राहुल गांधी के घर में घुस के मारेंगे?
We did a story. No, one second. We did a story. We did a story. But that's not the point. The point is, what has come out of this? I can't understand. I can't wrap my head around. What were they even thinking? What were they even trying to do? Charu Pragya, you have said this is the typical anarchist mindset of the Congress party, anti-India, so on and so forth. Now, on day 2, it was the robo-dog. On the final day, it's this. I mean, ultimately, net, who's the loser? The losers are the people who actually wanted to genuinely benefit and learn from AI and use this as an opportunity to learn AI and to showcase Indian AI models, etc. They are the ones who've lost out.
Absolutely, Zaka, and you are so right when you say that. So when a fiasco happens, our minister comes and talks about it, owns it. But what is the Congress party trying to do? The AI Impact Summit was India's win. Indian innovators have put their life's work on display for the world to see. And this the world wanted to see. That is exactly why more than 100 countries decided to participate in this. 20 heads of states were there. More than 500 CEO and innovators were a part of this. 2.5 lakh Indian young people had registered to come and see all the brilliance that was at display. And today, when Congress decided to showcase their hooliganism, who kicked them out? It was the participants. They were not BJP workers, madam. They were Indians who were proud to tell the world that they are becoming tech giants. It was Indians who were showcasing their talent to the world, and the world was learning. We were talking about innovative AI. We were talking about inclusive AI. We actually showed off systems that we have built. And what did you do? What did you do? And I really don't understand how can you sit here and defend half-naked, middle-aged men parading around, jumping around. You're defending it, and what is your target audience, madam? What eyeballs are you trying to grab? Because if it is Indians you're trying to impress, they dislike you, if it is possible, even more for this. You've been kept out of government for 3 years.
Maima Singh,
Can I say
again,
one more thing?
I want to come back. I want to come back to this whole point about I for the life of me cannot understand what they were thinking, what they were trying to achieve. Go ahead and protest. Nobody is saying don't protest. No, one second, ma'am, one second. Go ahead and protest at Ramlila Maidan, protest in Jantar Mantar, protest in Parliament every day. For the MPs who were thrown out or MPs who were suspended, every day parliamentarians were protesting at Makar Dwar and it was covered by the media. This is borderline, not just buffoonery, this is obnoxious. What are you trying to achieve?
Zaka, for all the regard I hold for your revered resource, and I think all your viewers revere you for the wisdom that you embody, I am quite appalled that you are not able to wrap your head around this. When I have raised the point that the questions are not registered in the parliament, the government continues to evade them. But you can wrap your head around a BJP worker, a Karni Sena worker, threatening Rahul Gandhi, looking in the eye, honorable leader of opposition, looking him in the eye and saying,
Can I just come in, please?
that is what he's saying.
No one is condoning that. No one is justifying that.
I did not
can you
Zaka,
please
that is
give
my
me
point.
a one-line reasoning for what was going on here? Who are these people? And I mean, it's shameful, frankly. I mean, it's shameful to the Congress party. Forget about shameful to India, shameful to the AI summit.
I simply want to know, Zaka, did you raise the question in such strong words, with
If-
such strong words, when Ashwini Vaishnav, please allow me to
and let's face it, I mean,
allow me to
I have
question.
issues
When
with
Ashwini
the
Vaishnav
manner
tweeted
in
the
which
Robodog
no,
fiasco,
once again, where the manner
taking
in which
pride in it. No,
it was organized on the first day, a lot of people were inconvenienced, then this whole Robodog fiasco. So I have a lot of issues with the way in which this was organized.
did you raise the
And we
question
did
in
shows
the
on it, by the way,
Congress?
Maima Singh. We did shows on it. Your colleagues were part of those shows.
I did not
But
hear such strong words from
I
you. That's
can't
what
for
I'm
the
saying.
life of me, I can't for the life of me understand
can't for
how
the
the
life of
Congress
understand
party
why would you
benefits
not know?
by a
No, Zaki,
few
your
half-naked, middle-aged men
words are
with their
biased.
pot bellies coming
Your
there
words
and standing there like rank clowns.
Let the government answer the questions in the parliament so the people will not have to resort to places where the notice will be taken. And Zaka, I did not hear your questions in such strong words pertaining to those questions which were raised
Ma'am,
by Ashwini Vaishnav's
ask your
tweet.
colleagues who were there
Ashwini
2 nights ago
Vaishnav's
on the
tweet.
show. There was a representative from the Congress, there was a representative from the BJP. So please, I'll be happy to share
You
the
would have
clip
done
of
a
that
show.
show.
No,
Yeah.
I'm happy. You would have done a show, but
So-
such strong
Comments,
words
Zaka.
we did not
No,
hear.
no,
Is what I'm
I
saying.
absolutely hauled up the BJP spokesperson that night and said, I mean, you got to be kidding me for inviting a completely, a fake university with a fake robo-dog imported from China, bought on God knows Amazon for whatever $250 and then passing it off as some AI innovation. I absolutely questioned the government and the organizers on that. So let's not
Very
please
well.
let's
Very
not
well.
please
Then
equivocate
question
here.
them today.
But
Then question
no,
them today. Why are the questions
today you have to answer, ma'am. What is this? What is this nonsense that your youth Congress
I have
workers were trying to pull
I
off?
think-
I can't understand. And if
I
you
think,
think
Zaka,
the Congress is benefited or better served by folks like this and by actions like this,
Zaka,
then
it is
what
not
can we
merely-
say? What can we say? I mean, the people of
Zaka,
India are
can I-
watching this and they will decide. Yes, Charu Pragya. But Charu Pragya, you also owe answers to the lack of organization on day one, this whole fiasco around the robo-dog, and ultimately net, what has come out of it? A lot of investment pledges have come, but ultimately how does this change the life of the ordinary Indian? You need to answer these questions.
No, absolutely, Zaka, and we have been answering that. See, maybe Mahima has not been watching television or following the narrative, but the government has
I have
talked
been
about
watching
every
debates where
single
BJP
question that
spokespersons
you
were not even
have.
present.
Ma'am, one at a time,
Zaka,
please.
can I
One at a
speak,
time.
please?
Yeah, one at
Can
a
I
time.
speak,
Yeah.
please? For a very long time, India has been the country which has shown to the world that we can build digital public infrastructure which can serve 150 crore Indians. Whether we are talking about Aadhaar, whether we are talking about UPI, whether we are talking about even Digi Yatra. Most recently, we have showcased Sarvam AI, Bhashini, Krutim, AI for Bharat. We have AI cancer detection now, indigenous drones, which were even a part of Operation Sindoor. Every single achievement of our country would have only been the focus of everything today if Congress decided to not do this. Two quick points I want to make here. One, madam, are you endorsing men taking their clothes off? So is that how you grab attention? Take your shirt off and parade around half naked? You're endorsing it actually, because I didn't hear any word about it. Not one word. And the second thing is, you were literally kicked out of the premise by a normal, average Indian participant to the AI summit who stood there to not just showcase his work, but also to gain from this summit. Those two are very straight questions to you. I did not come there, BJP did not come there to kick out your hooligans. It was the participants. And at the end of the
Okay.
day, you are actually endorsing men taking their shirts off. It
So
was cheap.
Maima saying,
It was pathetic.
I would imagine, okay, if the Congress party felt, okay, these were a bunch of, elements who you don't necessarily ascribe to or subscribe to, okay, you're distancing yourself from them, but no. You're doubling
they're
down.
owning
In
it.
fact, you're owning it. There's not a hint of remorse or apology
So next
or
time
even
we should expect
attempt
that
to
when Congress has
distance,
to launch a
attempt to
protest,
distance
you'll all
from
take your
this kind
clothes
of
off. That's the way you operate now.
public display of, I don't even know what this is. I mean, how do we even put this into words?
Let me tell you. Let me
Yeah,
tell
I'm
you.
afraid
We
they'll all start taking
absolutely.
their clothes off.
Yes,
Let
Mahima
her walk
Singh.
the talk. Let her walk the talk. I mean, we've learned some little bit of indiscipline from them. Now let them walk the talk and show us
No,
that
but
they can
Mahima,
also
just
observe this.
answer
Okay?
this one straight
Let
question.
me,
Taking off
Zaka,
clothes you're
allow me.
endorsing.
You
Yeah,
have asked me to
okay,
answer
Mahima
this
Singh,
one.
answer the
Let's
question.
go.
Yes, Mahima Singh,
Zaka,
yeah.
That's
make
what.
sure she
That's
answers
what.
that.
Yeah.
You're
Let her,
endorsing.
let her, yeah.
I have already. You want to. Your question, Zaka, is valid and should also. You know,
Yeah, go on, go on.
Zaka,
Yeah, go on.
I assume you have asked the question of me,
Yes, go on. Yes,
and
go
I
on.
assume the BJP spokesperson will walk the talk.
Yeah, go on.
Becca,
We're
the
waiting
simple
for your
point
answer.
is simple point is about the half naked protest that you're talking about. I was just trying to pull out, and maybe in the meantime I'll share it with your team, the visuals and the images of BJP leaders, tall leaders during Dr. Manmohan Singh's time, putting up half naked protests, and even beyond that. I'll share that. You can put it on your next story maybe. But let me just say, I have answered your question up front, right in the beginning, that we have no regret at all. Why? Because Indian citizens are being compelled to resort to all sorts of ways of protest, peaceful protest, of course.
So what about
because
those
this
Indian
government just
citizens?
doesn't listen.
No, so
This
what
is a
about those
deaf and
Indian
blind
citizens,
government.
ma'am, what about
How
those
do you
Indian
make a
citizens
deaf and
in
blind
that
government listen?
video who are confronting them and throwing them out?
How do you defend? Of course, I mean, you see, we know that there
Can
is
you just
a.
address these two
We
questions?
know
You endorse them being half
who are
naked,
sanctioned
and
stalls
second,
in
Indian
those
citizens kick
summits.
you out and you're okay.
Zaka, you have asked me
What
a
is your
question.
target audience?
Charu, let her respond. You've asked a question, let her
Want me
respond to it.
answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, Zaka, the point is a deaf and blind government ought to, be compelled. And when they were compelled to answer, when they continue to evade Indian citizens, which of course you are saying those are also Indian citizens, then would you deny that these are Indian citizens? And these are Indian citizens who have the guts to question the government of the day. Those sitting
Ma'am,
there,
you can question the government of the day
people
using
who were
1,000 platforms or 1,000
yes,
means.
we try.
Taking
Day in, day
taking
out.
your shirt off at a global AI summit is the last
Zaka,
thing as
Zaka,
an
you
advertisement or an
add one?
example of questioning the government. Come on, ma'am, please.
Can I
The
Zaka,
people
just
of the
say
country are
something, Zaka?
watching.
I am sure.
Let's not
I am
ridicule
sure.
their
I
intelligence,
am
please.
sure you
Yes,
saw
please. Zaka, can I
a
just add one
hundred.
more thing? And I've
You
heard this
saw,
on
Zaka,
several
a
debates this
thousand
evening
questions
Char-
that
from
were
all
put
Congress
out on our social
spokespersons.
media
Shahrukh
See,
Pragya,
handles.
yeah.
again and again, Congress says that these are Indian citizens lodging their protest because they're questioning the government. There's a mechanism, a constitutional mechanism to question the
And the
government.
BJP will tell
There
us
is
that.
the parliament where your
And the
leader
BJP
could
will
have
teach us.
chosen to speak about issues that
No, but
matter to this.
they say that you don't let their leader speak.
No,
He
absolutely
brings
not,
up
Zaka.
a former
Can
army
I?
chief's book, he's denied to speak. He brings up the
Uh,
US deal, you deny him to speak. That's what they're
No,
saying.
not at all. Not at all,
Pollution,
Zaka. Now
he's
these
denied
are
to speak.
issues. Can
Pollution,
Yeah,
I?
let
rape,
Charu now
he's
respond. My
denied
Maji,
Can
to
I?
please.
speak.
And again, see, Zaka, I do not want to get into debates of the past because at the end of the day, the army chief himself has said the book is not published. You want to quote an unpublished source and then pretend everything is, perfect in your paradise, and something's really wrong with you. The point here is, which Mahima has still not answered, is that one, there is a place where you lodge this kind of a protest. There is a mechanism in place. People have chosen their representatives, sent them to parliament for this very reason. This country has chosen the Bharatiya Janata Party, the NDA, to lead. Why can you not respectfully accept that? And again, the way to lodge a protest when 100 countries are visiting yours. Atiti Devo Bhava bolte हैं ना हमारे culture में. Instead of following the dictum of Atiti Devo Bhava, you want to let men take off their shirts and endorse it on national television, and
Okay.
you think there's absolutely nothing wrong. The
I'll
citizens
leave
who
it at
kick
that.
you out will never vote you in.
Like I
Will
said, I
never vote
mean,
you.
I can't think of a possible good enough reason for why this was even thought of as an idea. It passed off as an idea, and then it's now being endorsed without a hint of remorse or apology, despite all the chaos and mayhem that it's caused. It's unfortunate that things have come to such a pass, and that the real work of young entrepreneurs who are in the AI field, who are at the cutting edge of AI, and who are using this platform to, showcase their wares or to network with global players. All of that has now been reduced. It started with the crowd mismanagement on day one, then the whole RoboDog fiasco on day two, and then what a culmination on day three, the final day. I'll move on now to the other big story that we're tracking, and this is coming from the state of Karnataka, where, very rarely, in a very rare admission, the Karnataka Public Works Minister, Satish Jarkiholi, and there is a section in the Congress who thinks he could be the next Chief Minister, he has come out and sparked a fresh political controversy by candidly acknowledging that there is a culture of commissions and kickbacks in government contracts. There continues to be, and he says, frankly, it will always be there. A statement that has drawn some sharp reactions from across the political divide. His comments come amid growing pressure from the Karnataka State Contractors Association. There have been delayed payments, protests demanding the clearance of almost 37,000 crore in pending bills, some of which, of course, involve the PWD department. A lot also concern other departments. But this is a perennial problem in Karnataka politics, that vendors, contractors, subcontractors are not paid, irrespective of which party is in power. And now the PWD minister, and presumably a lot of these bills are pending in his department, he has come out and said that bribe giving and bribe taking is just part of the way government functions in the state.
ಅದು ಇದ್ದೇ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಹಿಂದೂ ಇದೆ, ಇವತ್ತಿರ್ತದೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಇರ್ತೈತೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಯಾರು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಯಾವ ಹಂತಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಎಲ್ಲಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಕಂಡು ಹಿಡಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗೋಲ್ರಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಕಂಡು ಹಿಡಿಯೋರು ನಾವು. ಈ ಕಡೆ ಒಬ್ಬಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಆ ಕಡೆ ಒಬ್ಬಿರ್ತಾನೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಆರೋಪ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ ಕಡೆ ಆರೋಪ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಿಂದೂ ಇದೆ, ಇವತ್ತು ಇರ್ತೈತೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಇರುತ್ತದೆ. ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಿಯಂತ್ರಣ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ಹಾಕಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟವ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಅಲ್ಲ ಬೇರೆಯವ್ರ ಮ್ಯಾಗ ಆರೋಪ ಬಂದಾಗ ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ.
So again, quick face-off on this. Bhaskar Rao is spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. Deepak Timaya is spokesperson of the Congress party. Mr. Timaya, a minister for PWD is justifying saying menace of kickbacks and commissions exists. This is a menace that has been there and may continue. It's difficult to completely eliminate it. Stopping it entirely at every level is difficult. At a time when the Karnataka government has owed 37,000 crore rupees to various contractors and subcontractors across various government departments. How does one even justify this?
Mr. Zaka, good evening to you. But let me tell you, being aware of things and being an intelligent, well-read, and also a person who has been so experienced in media, I'm sure that you know the difference between commission and bribe. And let me tell you, no way Mr. Jarkiholi said that he has been taking, commission and that's okay with it. That he's okay with it, or his ministerial colleagues are taking bribes or commissions, and he's okay with it. He's just saying that there are commissions and that are being paid, and these commissions have been paid before, and these commissions have been paid
who
now,
are they being
and
paid
paid
to?
in the future too.
Who are they being paid to? Who's receiving them?
To find out, because commissions are normally, even if you go and check and find out, it is something that's agreed upon between two parties, and he doesn't even talk about ministers. He talks about
who are the two parties in a government contract? In a government contract, who are the two parties? Who's the client and who is the supplier?
Most of the times, and if at all we assume that it's only the minister or the politicians or only the Congress functionaries, we would be extremely naive.
No. I didn't make that assumption. I didn't say that either. I'm just asking you a simple question. When a bribe is given, there is somebody who's receiving that bribe. In a government contract, usually the government is the client and the supplier is a private entity. Right?
Yeah, but
now my point is, who then is taking this commission?
Okay,
I didn't say the minister is taking commission. I didn't even say that his people are taking or anybody else is taking.
But let me tell you,
who is taking then?
Let me tell you, even we have an experienced officer here too. But if at all anybody assumes that this only happened like yesterday or day before, and this has not happened since the Achet was promised, and people thought bribery and commissions would absolutely get abolished in this country because of ED and vigilance and so many things.
Bhaskar Rao, when BJP was in power, I remember it was this famous thing that Contractors Association had written saying 40,000 crores is owed. I believe the head of the Contractors Association, or one of the heads of the Contractors Association, even committed suicide. It became a huge issue. So basically, when you were in power also, this happened, and now when the Congress is in power also, it happened. I mean, you should frankly thank Mr. Jarkiholi for being very candid about it.
Candid.
Yeah,
yes.
I was about to use that word, candid. Thanks, Zaka. And I really appreciate his candid admission. See, this is nothing but a illegal alliance between contractor, politician, and the tender inviting authority, whether it is any department as such. That is number one. Number two, we have got excellent and beautiful laws like Karnataka KTTP Act, etc., and all those things. And it is carried out as per paper, not on practice. So without a work order, contractors compete, said, give this order to me. Politician will decide which contractor is to be given which order over there without a work order. So the engineer or whosoever is that, he will oblige because he has to remain in power over there. He has to remain close to that over there. This has got nothing to do with political parties. People of all parties are engaged in this, and I really appreciate Mr. Jarkiholia. If at all it is not there, it is not there in Government of India level, because there the Prime Minister himself has taken oath or some kind of a seriousness to ensure that bribery and commission should not be a part of our work culture over there. Whereas in state governments, it is very, very common. And what Mr. Jarkiholia says, it is not just confined to one political party. It is across all political parties.
But Mr. Rao, your party
chooses
has come out and said that, this is diluting the Pancha guarantee. Instead of the Pancha guarantee, they are giving bribe guarantee. Many decades have passed, but the bond between Congress and corruption is unbroken. When a PWD minister admits Commission Raj, then what hope do the citizens have?
Exactly. It is not only in PWD, it is there in BBMP, it is there in every other department. And the moment any grant is there, 40%, 50%. Earlier, they accused the BJP of 40%, and they appointed a commission, the Jakuna commission. The commission came out saying that it was wrong. Now it has gone to 70% over there. So what Mr. Jarkiholia says is right, and Congress also has got, see, elections, as long as electoral democracy is there, a lot of money is required. You have made not only ministers and politicians and bureaucrats are corrupt, people have also become corrupt. They expect you to finance them. Party members, party workers also need to be fed over there and to be comforted.
So we are stuck in this cycle, Mr. Timaya. On the one hand, every political party, your party, Mr. Bhaskar Rao's party, every party is promising all kinds of freebies, welfareism, so on and so forth. In Karnataka, I believe it's in excess of 50,000 crores that is required every year to meet those guarantees. You've not been able to keep those guarantees. And then you have, where will the state find this money from? Obviously, it will find either from sale of liquor, or it will find from whatever little it gets from the sale of fuel, or ultimately it has to be around these kickbacks and commissions.
No,
right?
You don't pay the guarantee money with the kickbacks at all, Mr. Zaka, Jacob. Because you know it very well that the money comes from the exchequer. If at all anybody believes that any money that's taken as commission or bribe is going to be paid to the people, I think that we are being very naive. Let me tell you, it's very simple. Like Mr. Bhaskar Rao said, this is nothing just to do with the Congress or the BJP or the JDS or any other party. This is basically about the systemic culture, which even like Mr. Modi has not been able to. There's a different name for corruption in the central government. It's not called corruption or bribe or commission. It's called crony capitalism. And I think that it's a very nice name to call it because it's white collar bribing. But let me tell you, because if at all you're giving it only to some people and you're denying so many other people so many things, that too. But let me tell you, it's a very simple thing. We are not sitting here in judgment of, whether Congress did it or BJP did it or whatever. He just said a very blank, blatant truth that this has been happening, and he said it has to be controlled. And he even said you complain to the chief minister and also go to the Lokayukta. He did not say let us just brush it under the carpet and just think that it doesn't happen. We should be so happy that the Congress minister, a PWD minister, is talking so honestly about.
For the same issue, you went to the Lokayukta. Former chief minister, Mr. Yediyurappa, his government was brought down on this basis. I mean, and now both parties are conveniently saying, it happens whether whether BJP is in power or Congress is in power, it's okay. This comes back to Mr. Bhaskar Rao. This comes back to what people in Karnataka have always suspected, that there is a setting politics or there is adjustment politics that happens.
Mr. Jacob, he did not say it is okay.
No, let Mr. Rao respond.
Yeah, I already told you this is a nexus between the politician, bureaucrat, and the contractor over there. And it has been going on. And the only person who can stop is the chief minister himself over there. Or if there is a serious Lokayukta. Otherwise, normally the Lokayukta is the handmaid of the government itself over there. As you rightly mentioned, Yediyurappa had to face term, etc. He was not the Lokayukta, Mr. Santosh Hegde, took very, very bold steps. Not everybody is like Mr. Santosh Hegde to take such bold steps. If they really mind it, they can do it over there. But it needs a lot of political strength and moral strength to do this, because they have now, apart from being corrupt themselves, They have become sort of made the bureaucrats corrupt, the contractors corrupt. In fact, he would blame the contractor straight away because it is they out of greed say give it to us, you can pass the orders later. And
Okay, Bhaskar Rao and Mr. Timaya, thank you for joining us. We'll see. I mean, I think it's a terrible tragedy in this day and age that a minister says, you know, bribes have existed, it will continue to exist, you can't eliminate it, and everybody accepts it as the new normal. Talking about the new normal, I want to shift focus to another story. The Kerala story too. The movie has sparked a fresh controversy after its trailer drew sharp criticism from Kerala Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. He's called this movie a false propaganda. As the film heads towards its February 27th release, that's going to be next Friday, this row has reignited discussions on cinema, on communal representation, and the line between provocation and propaganda. There's also a petition now that's been filed in the Kerala High Court over the film's portrayal of Kerala, of Malayalis, and the potential impact that it will have on regional harmony. But the State Tourism Board has chosen irony and some would say a bit of a tongue-in-cheek way to try and respond to this. They have come out with this poster. The trailer, in fact, shows a young Hindu woman being force-fed beef by her Muslim in-laws. That's in the movie Kerala Story 2. In response to which, the Kerala Tourism Development Corporation, KTDC, has shared this post on its social media platforms with the words, "No beef with anyone." That's our recipe for happiness. The post has gone viral. It's added a twist to the existing controversy. And what most Malayalis, whether they are influencers, aligned or non-aligned with any political party, are coming out and saying is that if most of the state consumes beef, no one's forcing anyone to eat beef, then why is this movie portraying the entire state and the entire people in poor light?
देखिए जो पहला फिल्म जो था केरला स्टोरी वो तो नफरत फैलाने वाला फिल्म ही है और उसमें कोई बुनियाद नहीं थे कह रहे थे कि हज़ारों लोग कन्वर्ट हो गया ये सही नहीं है मेरे ख्याल में कुल मिला के कुछ सालों में करीब 30 केस ऐसे कुछ थे और जो कहानी वो बता रहा था वो सिर्फ कुछ लड़कियों के हुए थे देखिए हमारे देश तो बड़े देश हैं अगर इधर उधर कुछ होते हैं उसका मतलब नहीं कि आप उसको बना के बहुत बड़ा कहानी बना के प्रोपेगेंडा कर दे
केरला हैज ए पेक्यूलियर इशू इन द सेंस दैट फॉर एग्जांपल बोथ द UDF and the LDF has been supporting some particular religions who are considered more than equal to others. So this issue is an issue which is known to everyone. Kerala is a place from where people have been recruited to even IS. Kerala is a place where the government, the police have given affidavits in the court that there is a love jihad issue happening in Kerala. So these are all issues which are known to the or should be known to the Chief Minister and the opposition leader.
The clock is ticking on what could become one of the most consequential foreign policy decisions in Donald Trump's presidency. The US president says he will decide within the next 10 to 15 days whether or not to pursue more diplomacy with Iran or launch a second major military strike, and that too in less than a year. With American aircraft carriers, at least 2 of them, bombers, submarines, destroyers, you name it, it is the biggest movement of American military firepower since the Iraq War in 2003, all of which has been positioned within striking distance of Iran. The pressure is definitely mounting on Tehran. Trump calls this a final opportunity to strike a deal. Critics are saying this is a dangerous military gamble. The question now is not just whether the US will strike, but what the end game of that strike really is. I dig a little deeper. US President Donald Trump, who is facing a decision about whether to unleash a second major military assault on Iran in less than a year, says he's not made up his mind on which way to go. Should he pursue more talks and diplomacy, or should he order an all-out assault? With 2 aircraft carrier groups and dozens of fighter jets and bombers and refueling aircraft now within striking distance of Iran, President Trump is threatening another full-blown attack. This would be the second in 7 months, but in doing so, he's not giving any assessments about why the urgency or any explanation of why he needs to strike Iran again. After the first strikes in June, President Trump had claimed that Iran's nuclear sites had been obliterated. Now he's sending the US military back to finish the job. Trump is largely fixated on Iran's nuclear weapons program, but at different points of time in the last few months, he has cited a range of other rationales. 1. Protecting the protesters who led an uprising against the regime. 2. Wiping out the arsenal of ballistic missiles that Iran has and can use against Israel. And 3. Ending Iran's support for Hamas, Hezbollah, and other terror proxies. Now Trump says in about 10 or 15 days, one way or the other, he will have a decision on Iran. It seems like he's offering Iran one last chance to cut a deal, and he's piling on the military pressure in the process in order to extract a favorable deal.
You said today on Iran, bad things will happen if Iran doesn't make
really
a
bad
deal.
things.
What will that
I'm not going to talk to you about that.
Okay, can you explain though, what is the goal if there is a U.S. military
Well,
strike?
we're either make a deal or we're going to get a deal one way or the other.
But with a military strike, is it to wipe out their nuclear program?
I'm not going to talk to you about that, but we're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
And you said today 10 days. Have you given them a deadline firm to make a deal?
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
There's also the question of whether the military option will actually succeed in its objective, which is to force Iran to cut a nuclear deal with America. Most of Iran's weapons-grade uranium is already buried from the last strike that happened in June. And it's not clear how airstrikes would immediately aid the protesters around the country or persuade Iran from stopping funding of terror proxies. The president has given no speeches preparing the American public for a strike on a country that has 90 million people. Neither has he sought any approval from the US Congress. He's not explained why he has chosen this moment to confront Iran. Two lawmakers, one Democrat, the other Republican, both are threatening to force a vote in the Congress next week on whether or not America should wage this war against Iran. Trump, when he's asked questions, he regularly deflects about whether regime change is his true goal, and that leaves unclear what the endgame here is. Is it regime change? Is it simply that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon? Or is it to end the ballistic missiles program and the support for terror proxies? A definitive pressed on a question in a Senate hearing recently, he conceded that forcing a leadership change in Iran would be far more complex than what America did in Venezuela when it ousted Nicolas Maduro.
So it's hard to do a deal with Iran. We've always said it's hard, but we're going to try. That's what the president is trying.
Rarely in modern times has the United States prepared to conduct a major act of war with so little explanation and so little public debate. As Trump gathered the first meeting of the Board of Peace at the White House to discuss the rebuilding of Gaza, he veered off briefly into this topic of imminent action against Iran. There are, of course, huge differences with the Iraq invasion that happened in 2003. Unlike in Iraq, Trump does not envision any ground invasion in Iran. That avoids the repeated critique.
It's the most significant economic case to reach the High Court in years, sweeping implications for the economy and, of course, for presidential power. And at stake here are billions of dollars in revenue that have already been collected by the government. Pamela Wolf, the other significance here is that this is the first time that the 6-3 conservative court has ruled against President Trump in one of these major cases that have gone before the court since he returned to power in January. Now, we are still going through this case, but this is something we have been waiting for. The court said that it would take up this case on an expedited basis. So they're deciding, even though it's a significant case now, because of course this has enormous implications. So as we go through this opinion now with our team, another outstanding question is what now happens to all that revenue that had been collected. This is something it really wasn't clear from the arguments what they would say about that, if they're going to lay out a plan. So we will continue to go through this, but this is an enormous decision and a rare loss for President Trump before this conservative court.
This is, Paula, a major slap at the President of the United States, who has made a major effort over these many, many months to impose all of these tariffs. And just to look at some of the background I have here, over these many months, the administration has collected $150 billion in these tariffs. So what happens to that money? Do they have to refund that money to the firms, to the people who paid for those tariffs?
That's one of the big questions that came up at arguments, and it's something that we're looking through now in this opinion. The top line is that these are illegal, that the president cannot rely on this 1977 emergency law to impose tariffs without authorization from Congress, because this question is really about the extent of presidential power. And we know in both his terms in office, President Trump has really worked at the edges of what has largely been recognized as executive authority. But in these arguments back in November, they went on for 2.5 hours, it was clear that the justices were skeptical that President Trump could rely on this vague federal law to impose global tariffs. Now, they did appear to likely be willing to decide that these were illegal, but what is not clear, and we haven't gotten to this part of the opinion, is what happens to all that revenue that has been collected by the government. And President Trump has said himself that this is, this is a massive decision for him. So we're waiting for reaction, both from the Justice Department that argued this on his behalf, and also from the White House. But we're going to keep going through this, Wolf, to try to see if the justices laid out any plan for what happens to that revenue.
All right, Paula, stand by. I know you're going to be reading all these the opinions and everything. I want to get back to you, but I want to bring in our senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig, right now. Ellie, as I said, this is a huge setback for the President of the United States, and this has been a traditionally conservative Supreme Court, but they ruled that all of these tariffs that Trump has imposed over these many months are illegal. It's a big deal.
Well, Wolf, it's a monumental ruling, and the bottom line is that the tariffs Donald Trump announced back in April on Liberation Day are gone. They have been ruled illegal by this U.S. Supreme Court. An interesting array of justices here. In the majority, ruling that the tariffs are illegal is Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Gorsuch, and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, 3 conservatives who teamed up with the 3 liberal justices, Sotomayor, Kagan, and Jackson.
It's a huge development, this, which has ramifications across the globe. The U.S. Supreme Court has just ruled that Trump's invocation of the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, which was the legal basis for through which he used these tariffs, imposed tariffs across all of America's trading partners, it has ruled that that was illegal, that in this context, Trump could not invoke this 1977 law called the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, which is a presidential act that was brought in when Jimmy Carter was president. He's used a particular section in this IEEPA to justify the imposition of tariffs. Remember, he announced his tariffs on the 2nd of April on Liberation Day. It was paused for 3 months. And then from the end of July, he announced a series of deals with a host of countries, starting with the UK in May, and then, of course, eventually countries like Japan, South Korea, the European Union. India's was one of the last deals to be struck, and that happened just a few weeks ago. It happened in the last week of January, where India's rate was brought down from 50% to 18%. Now, all of that is history because the Supreme Court of the United States, all judges have sat in on this judgment, and by majority, they have ruled that Trump invoking these questionable and contentious clauses of the International Economic Emergency Powers Act is flawed, is deemed illegal in law. What are the global ramifications of this? What are the ramifications of this for India? I want to go across to Akanksha Swaroop. So the core issue was whether the president had the powers to do this, and the Supreme Court has ruled that no, he does not have the powers. In this instance, they have deemed this as illegal.
It's rather symbolic. Zaka, remember a day ago only CNN was talking about how the Trump posters and banners have been in fact flying over the U.S. Supreme Court, and it couldn't get more authoritative than this for the Supreme Court to be reminding the U.S. president that they reign supreme at the moment. And this is what the ruling is also stating. Remember, critics were already arguing that the statute does not grant the president any such authority to implement any kind of broad-based trade tariffs. Now, the other question is going to be that will this, under this ruling, will this cover the ambit of the already forced bilateral trade agreements? As you were also talking about, India has managed to finalize the details just days ago. also all the tariff that has already been collected. What happens to that? Are there going to be now suits slapped against the U.S. president? There are going to be a host of anomalies.
Akanksha, just give me 1 second. Raymond Vickery is now joining us. Mr. Vickery, thank you for speaking with us. So the Supreme Court of the United States ruling that it is illegal for the U.S. president in this instance to have invoked the International Economic Emergency Powers Act to impose tariffs on the rest of the world. What do you make of this hugely consequential decision?
Well, thanks very much for allowing me to comment on this. It seems to me this is a great day for American democracy. There's no question that in regard to tariffs, particularly President Trump has marched toward an authoritarianism that is not in accordance with the United States Constitution or existing law. Previous decisions of the Supreme Court indicated that the Supreme Court might not be willing to provide the checks and balances that are in our Constitution. This, along with the midterms which are coming up, gives me great hope that we can get American democracy back on a constitutional path. In regard to the tariffs, it's plain that the United States Constitution gives the right for taxation to the legislative branch, not the executive, just to act on whatever whim the executive may feel. So this is correct. And if you look at the statute which has been invoked, you can see that there really is no basis in the statute to say that this is a national emergency based upon trade deficits. So this is a very important and positive development in my view. Unfortunately, I do not believe that the tiger changes his stripes, and I believe that President Trump will try to work around this to invoke some other basis for going forward. But this is at least a step in the right direction in reining in what has been an unconstitutional and in many cases illegal approach to the conduct of international affairs.
What happens to all of these trade deals? He's struck trade deals, I think, with more than 70 countries. India was one of the last ones to strike a deal with America. Are they all now history? Are they all sort of consigned to the dustbin, as it were?
Well, President Trump and his administration are going to try to find other means for justifying them, other statutes and other approaches. But it throws it all into a cocked hat, if you will, in terms of what those tariffs actually mean. I think it's going to take some time to sort out the nuance of the impact, but the immediate effect is to throw doubt on the kind of my way or the highway approach to tariffs which the administration is taking.
So it's interesting to note, Rahul, that the Dow Jones, which is the equivalent of the Sensex there in the US, has jumped over 100 points upon this verdict. So clearly, industry, the markets are welcoming this decision. We haven't heard from either Mr. Trump or anybody from his administration. Presumably, they will speak soon enough on this. It also comes at a time when, basically what the Supreme Court has said is the president doesn't have this power. This power solely rests with the U.S. Congress. It comes at a time when we're talking about, the U.S. going to war with Iran. Again, the president does not have that power. It's the U.S. Congress. So whether or not this changes that decision or impacts that decision, again, is something that we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, look, fundamentally in August 2025, if I'm not mistaken, a U.S. appeals court had ruled that most of Trump's tariffs were actually illegal. And it was on the back of that verdict that the Supreme Court got involved when Donald Trump, ironically, approached it to overturn the appeals court decision. Now, what we'd been told is that Mr. Trump had, over a period of time, been able to pack, and this is going back to his prior presidency, had been able to pack also the Supreme Court with what is in America called conservative justices. So they would have, he would have expected the court to be a little more sympathetic. As you know, in America, judges are appointed by the executive. But that doesn't seem to have happened. And this now brings out a very interesting situation, because obviously countries like us felt the need to strike deals because we were laboring under 50% tariffs, including a sanction. I don't know if the sanction gets covered here, which is the 25% sanction that he imposed. Presumably it does, Zaka. But if a country like India was facing 50% and goods from India were coming in at that price and so on and so forth, there has been a lot of pressure on American businesses to actually make up the difference. They were actually, in some ways, laboring in trying to subsidize costs so that they could sell their goods to, obviously, the US public.
No, absolutely. As they say,
so obviously the Dow Jones is reacting positively.
The tariff is paid not by the producer or the exporter. The tariff ultimately has to be absorbed by the importer and the one who's selling his or her wares in the US and to the US market. But also what's interesting is the Indian interim framework trade agreement with the US was to be legally vetted and signed. In fact, I believe an Indian team was due to leave to the US on Monday, the 23rd, to legally vet that, and then sometime I'm given to understand in March, in early March, they were expecting the US trade representative to come to India and formally sign that framework trade agreement, which would then formalize the 18% tariff. But now the very legal basis of that tariff has been taken off. So the bottom has really come off in this entire thing. So I guess there is no point of a legal framework or a legal signing now that this has come off. I also want to bring in Mr. P.K. Basu on this. So in the U.S. justice system, this is it. This is the highest court of appeal. The U.S. Supreme Court has sat on this, and they weighed in on this 6-3 majority ruling that the legal basis of IEEPA, which the president used to impose these tariffs, that legal basis is gone. That bottom is gone. Does he have any other legal avenue to try and bring this through the back door, or any other? What's the next step really as far as Trump is concerned? Because he's not going to, I don't foresee a situation where he's just going to give up on these tariffs.
I don't think he's going to give up on the tariffs, but he'll have to now go through Congress. And basically discriminatory tariffs on different countries, etc., is probably what the Supreme Court has ruled against. We'll have to see the details of the judgment. But the important thing is that this is a surprise, because the U.S. Supreme Court has a 6-3 balance in favor of conservative judges, at least 3 or 4 of whom were directly appointed by President Trump himself. So it's a little bit of a surprise that they voted 6-3 against.
So three conservative judges flipped, including the Chief Justice, John Roberts.
Yes. So John Roberts has flipped. This is a really an earth-shaking event politically in the U.S. And what will have to happen is that he'll now have to go to Congress and formulate a bill that has these different tariffs to different countries, or he'll perhaps have to find some sort of legal justification for why there are different tariff levels for each country, and convince Congress that Congress should pass legislation exactly in line with what he has come up with.
And there it may not be easy. There it may not be easy because Rahul, it's a midterm election year. There are Republican congressmen and women who, in some of these swing districts, who are finding it difficult to sell some of these policies of President Trump. So running up the numbers there might not be that easy.
In fact, already a large number of lawmakers have come out and said that they're not going to allow this. So there is, I don't know if it's bipartisan, and maybe Mr. Raymond Vickery can sort of elucidate on that, but I'm told that there is a lot of resistance, and it's coming primarily from business that are lobbying lawmakers to say that, look, I think this has gone too far. Now, if you remember, there was something like this that happened, especially with steel sector and so on and so forth, under Trump 1, and he had to roll back a lot of those tariffs that he had imposed back then. So there is pressure on, obviously, the American economy, and that's going to reflect somehow in the overall calculations. But in the immediate, I wonder what happens. Do those countries that have been sort of milked, for lack of a better word, do they now get recompensated? Is that what's going to happen? Because those numbers go into the billions.
Yeah.
Zaka, and in fact, I'm just reading this piece because just a few days back, and this is BBC, Trump says he's awaiting very eagerly this particular judgment because he says that without all of this, in this uncertainty, he's going to find it very difficult to move forward because billions and billions of dollars will leave America.
So he's not going to pay back. I'm pretty certain about that. The monies that have been collected so far, and there are varying estimates. I think Scott Bessent at one point said they're hoping to get $300 billion in this financial year.
He said everybody would be bankrupt if this decision came against these tariffs.
So I want to go back to Raymond Vickery on this. So the steel and aluminum tariffs, those have been exempt in today's judgment in as much as they have said that is fine. The section that he's used under IEEPA for steel and aluminum, which is separate for the other tariffs, that the court has upheld. It's the rest of the broader tariffs that the court has struck down on. Will Trump go back and use those sections which are perhaps kosher in the IEEPA to then bring back the tariffs either through executive order or go back to Congress and ask for and try and rally up the numbers there? Mr. Vickery.
Well, let's face it, President Trump is an expert at what we call lawfare, which is warfare through the courts. He's not going to give up easily on this. As has been said, he should go back to Congress and get authorization for this, since Congress has the constitutional authority. But you can bet that's not going to be his first move. His first move is going to be to try to find loopholes within this judgment in order to be able to do what he's trying to do illegally, to try through another method to get it done. So he will separate out, for example, tariffs based upon Russian oil from those which are the so-called Liberation Day. He will look for, he has already looked for other authority, legal authority, other methods to be able to accomplish this. So that's going to be the first move to take. But the good news here is that, you know, for 250 years, we've survived in American democracy through some really tough periods. We do have, though, a way to be able to go forward constitutionally, and that is going to be, it seems to me, working out over the days and weeks and months to come. But as far as money being paid back, it's not being paid back to the countries involved. The people who've been paying these tariffs are the businesses of the United States of America, by and large. Now, some of it's been passed on to consumers, some passed on to suppliers through lower prices. But it's really, the plaintiffs in this case are small businesses in the United States who have been disadvantaged. And so it's not a monumental task. This is a lot of money in billions of dollars, but compared to the federal budget, it's not all that great. It can be handled in terms of the logistics and the payback. So that's not the problem. The problem is whether or not we'll be able to deal on a constitutional and legal basis in terms of the next steps, particularly with other great democracies like India and in Western Europe. I predict there's going to be a period of uncertainty, but certainly a signing ceremony seems to be off based upon something which has been ruled illegal by the United States Supreme Court.
Okay, let me also try and see if we can get Siddhant. Is there any reaction from the MEA or from any industry body here, Siddhant, on this monumental decision by the Supreme Court of the United States striking down the Trump tariffs? The India deal, I believe a team was set to go to the US on Monday. Yeah. Does all of that now sort of be put on hold?
Well, Zaka, it's too early to perhaps react to this particular judgment by U.S. Supreme Court. But what I can tell viewers is that this morning I met U.S. Ambassador Sergio Gore. In fact, I was a part of the selected group of journalists he briefed at Bharat Mandapam. And in fact, this question was asked to Ambassador Gore that when officially the trade deal is going to get signed, what's the status? Because so far, the executive order has been signed by President Trump to remove the 25% additional punishment tariff on India for buying Russian crude. The second executive order to reduce the initial tariff on India is still not signed by the U.S. Trump administration. So that is still pending. Point number one. Point number two, Mr. Gore said that next week U.S. Indian teams are going to the United States. He said that both sides are in touch, and in fact, he said that very soon we are going to sign a trade deal with India. So definitely, we will seek response from Ministry of External Affairs, from the Trade Ministry here in India. What do they have to say on this entire judgment by the U.S. Supreme Court? But Zaka, ahead of this also, because this has been going on from a very long time, and we had, been speaking to our friends here in government and trying to understand that what if U.S. Supreme Court gives such order, what would be our position, etc. So, most likely Trump is not going to give up. Perhaps he still has the route by legislating through the House, and that is something which is still an option for the Trump administration.
So again, I want to just underline this for our viewers. So there are certain parts of the tariffs that the Supreme Court has said is valid. It's the broad spectrum of tariffs which were invoked under a particular section of the International Economic Emergency Powers Act, which the court has deemed illegal. So what the president can do, Rahul, is perhaps go back to those other sections within that and pass another executive order, which will again have sweeping impact in terms of the number of goods that are covered under this IEEPA with a new executive order. I doubt, as Mr. Vickery said, his first recourse would be to go to the Congress, because there are lots and lots of Republican congressmen and women and senators who come from these suburban districts, who come from these industrial districts, who were saying that, we can't sell this back to our constituents. So I think this will have ramifications in the run-up to the midterms as well.
Well, viewers, let's go straight across and take stock of this story as we approach the top of 9 tonight, viewers. Very consequential decision has been taken by the U.S. Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court, in a 6-3 ruling, has struck down Donald Trump's tariff tyranny, so to speak. What we're being told is that the U.S. Supreme Court